Hey, welcome to Bilger's Rocks here in beautiful Pennsylvania. And what you're going to see today is as we go down into the rocks, we're going to be walking down along the face of this cliff. And one thing you notice right away, besides the rocks, is how green it is. And one of the greenness is this tree right here, is the hemlock, which is our state tree. It was picked in 1939 because of its value. The legislature declared it as the state tree because it had value as both wood, and the bark has a chemical called tannin. And it likes cool, moist areas. And so Bilger's Rocks has a lot of hemlock growing here. But come along with me and let's go down into the rocks and I'll show you some more. Wow, is that slippery? Yeah, you have to be careful here at the rocks because everything can be slippery when it's wet. And we do have trees that come down. We try to remove them as hazards, but sometimes they fall on their own. But this is the stepping stones, which will take us down into the rocks. So watch your step, take it easy, and follow me. Yeah, that's hard to. Okay, now we're down into the rocks where the face of the rock stops and the pieces that have broken off are moving down the hill. And can you see where we were just standing? Up there next to that hemlock tree? We were looking down in and now we are down here looking up. Now these stones are made from sandstone. It was laid down, they estimate, about 300 million years ago when the coal and the clay and sand were all deposited. So this is all sandstone, which is made from sand washed off the old mountain range that used to make up the Appalachians, and it got deposited in this huge bed across Pennsylvania. It's called the Pottsville Group, but it's a thick bed of sandstone, and here you see it outcropping as it slowly breaks apart and these pieces move down the hill. It creates this fissure. You notice all the moss on the rocks. It's because of a lot of moisture here in this area. And we have plants here that you don't find that used to be real common. This is a lady slipper, and deer tend to eat it a lot, but because so many people come through here, the deer don't bother it. But we also have other unique ecosystems here. This is a little pond in here that's almost always dripping water, even in the middle of summer. And there are some rare ferns that only grow in this area, which are a part of this Bilger's Rocks. Of course, it's known for its rocks, but also for the trees that grow here that give it a canopy to make it so beautiful. But look how this hemlock tree started to grow on top of the rocks and put its roots down to find soil and nutrients so it can survive. That tree is probably 100 years old, sitting there in this very harsh site, but still surviving. Now, if we look over here, you can see the rocks, the bedding patterns in the rocks. As the sand washed off this huge mountain, it would be deposited in different layers. And this sandstone is very valuable for building material because a quarry, which is about 2 miles that way, used the same seam of sandstone. And those stones went to build the Arch Railroad Bridge down in Harrisburg, the Cathedral of Learning, the Washington Cathedral in Washington, D.C., the Presbyterian Church in Clearfield, churches and the post office in Kerwinsville were all built using this sandstone that was quarried on the other side of the stream here. So what you're seeing here is a place where the rocks have split and they're moving downhill, but other parts are not. And if you come up here a little bit more, turn around and look, you can see this big stone up on top is being slowly carried downhill, but it's spanning the one side that's moving and the other side that is not. But over time, eventually this rock will fall in and that cave will no longer be there. That rock used to be up against this one. But over time, over centuries, thousands of years, freezing, thawing, gravity, they pulled apart. So here we are in another spot in Bilger's Rocks. This is called the Great Green Corridor or Hallway. The Great Green Hallway, that's it. And look at the greenness of all the moss growing here. And once again, the rocks have split and some are moving down the hill to create this really unique feature. And look at all the pot marks and the bedding in that stone. And then further down here is the stream that's slowly eroding the soil away and allowing these rocks to keep moving downhill over the millennia. Here we are in a kind of a room between all these rocks. And you'll notice right away this big hemlock tree. Well, this area of Pennsylvania, they did a lot of logging. As a matter of fact, there's a sawmill down here on the stream where they would cut the trees like hemlock into lumber. But this tree, there's no way they could get it out of here. And we estimate it to be about 300 years old. But what happened to it? It got hit by lightning last year, and it split it apart and broke it and basically killed it. But this will be standing here for probably 100 years as it slowly rots back into the ground. And other trees will start growing here. And so the cycle of life goes on. So now we are in another kind of like a room. Of course, the only roof are trees, but it's where the rocks have cracked apart. And this used to be a big party spot where people would throw their garbage. And even today we still find garbage here, but it's not what it used to be. So people are being more responsible, which we really appreciate. But from here, you can go into these cracks, and there are different rooms up through here. And one will actually take you up to the top of the rocks. So that's something that can be explored. So here we have some trillium. Here again, deer tend to eat them a lot, but because there's so many people through here and it's a protected area, they are free to bloom and provide beauty. Here we have a black birch tree that's going to grow. Who knows how big that can be. And rhododendron, also eaten by deer a lot, is found here in the rocks. So people have been coming to these rocks. Come on down here, because I want to show you something here. People have been coming here for a long time, and some of them have carved their initials into the rocks, which we do not promote. But back in 1919, J.W. Larson was in here on January 20th of 1919. That's over 100 years ago when he was in here and carved that. And here's another carving, which here again, we don't promote it, but it's kind of a funny one. We have Alice and Sam McFarland in 1931. And there's an outline of their dog, Jigs. They carved Jigs into the rock. Now, a lot of people used to use spray cans, and we had to do a lot of work to clean that up. And fortunately, people seem to respect the rocks now and don't do that anymore. So here we are next to the road where a lot of people consider this the entrance to the rocks. But in 1921, that J.W. Larson, who was actually an artist and a stonemason, came here and he chiseled this portrait into the side of the rocks here. And it says, "The world is looking to us." There's a little eyeball there. And this shows North America and South America. And here is a woman, head bent over, sitting on a rock or something, looking down at a man who is laying on the ground. And we think this represents the sadness of all the men lost in World War I. And then after World War I, the world is now looking to us, the Northern Hemisphere, or the North America, to help rebuild the world. And it was signed 1921 by John W. Larson. So here we are next to the road, but the Native Americans were all through this area, and the major road, the Shamokin Trail, was about a mile from here. Now you can only imagine hunting parties and such would find this as a nice shelter. Lay down on a bearskin rug and you can sleep here and not worry about getting wet. You could send the kids down to the stream to catch fish for dinner tonight. You could go hunting for bear, gather chestnuts. Just a nice place to kind of hang out and live. Now, there was no year-round occupation of this area that we know of. And we have not found any Indian artifacts to speak of. So we're assuming that they were just parties traveling through and utilizing a space like this. So here we are. There's two ways to get to the top of the rocks. There's the easy way up the road, and then there is this crack through the rocks. And we're gonna go this way because I like it. Come on. Now we're back on top of the rocks, and come on over here and let's take a look down in where we just came from. Okay, so walking across the top, you gotta worry about these cracks in the rock, so you gotta be sure you can be safe. So if you don't feel comfortable, there are other ways to get around. But come on over here and look down into this one area we just came from. And this is the room where you can take other passages up through the rocks. But isn't it amazing that big rock right there used to be up here? And it just keeps moving every year, little by little. But that's Bilger's Rocks. So come on out and enjoy it.